The following program is presented by the HTM Podcast Network.
Welcome to another episode of Turnbuckle Talk in partnership with thechairshot.com, presented by the Hitting the Marks Podcast Network and in association with NDPW.com. Turnbuckle Talk is sponsored by collarandelbowbrand.com, where you get 10% off when using promo code JKPodcast. Turnbuckle Talk is also partnered with Phoenix at FNXFit.com, where you get 15% off all your health supplements simply by using promo code TBTalkPod. Follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter by searching at TB Talk Pod. Listen on Podbean, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere you catch your favorite programs. And now, pro wrestling fanatics, are you ready? Here are your hosts, Mighty Joe Morin and Karl Karufel.
That's right, everybody. My name is Karl Karufel, alongside the curator of topics, Mighty Joe, and this is Turnbuckle Talk.
Yeah, man, we're back for another week of Turnbuckle Talk. And as usual, before we get to our pro wrestling discussion, though, what's been going on this past week, man?
This past week has been fantastic. It has been warm. It has been nice. It has been beautiful, except for today, which is on a little bit of the cooler side, which kind of sucks for us here in Northern Ontario, at least, especially because today is Victoria Day here in Canada, which is a little bit of a stat holiday for us, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, other than that, that's how things are going here. How are things down in Southern Ontario?
Well, for the Victoria Day celebrations, I mean, this past evening, and I'm sure tonight too, fireworks going off like crazy around the neighborhood. I'm sure like those big fireworks deals aren't really going on, so people are doing their own and doing it like crazy, like I said. And then, just outside of Turnbuckle Talk, just keep it on rolling with our friends over at Love Wrestling. I mean, we're cranking out content on a daily basis over there now. It's pretty crazy, and it's been quite something.
Yeah, I'm sure it definitely has been, and I know that you are very much so involved with everything Love Wrestling. So, yeah, that's another platform that we're on, people. So go and check out them over at lovewrestling.ca. It would be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely.
John, hello, my friend. Nice of you to join us. Thank you so much. That is something that we really don't get a lot of chance to do, is thank our listeners and our viewers, and we want to make sure that we always are doing so. So yeah, take a look down in the ticker down below there. Thank you to all our amazing fans and sponsors and supporters.
Absolutely, man. All right, well, let's get into our pro wrestling discussion here and kicking off. Speaking of fans, coming in July, at least in the United States, seemingly back to having crowds at wrestling shows. It's about freaking time, my friend.
WWE is actually a little late on this. Most other companies are beginning mid-June going to be starting to do live shows once again with nearly full to full attendance of people being there. So this is WWE for some reason a little late to that party, going to be happening in July, and I'm wondering if this has to do something with the deal with the arena that they're currently in while they're doing the Thunderdome.
I'm not sure. I mean, I imagine that's coming up at some point. But, I mean, and this is a little odd for us because, I mean, we're here in Canada and things are still, we're getting there, but it looks like coming in the next month, we're starting to get back to the reopening stage, going from there. But I mean, the United States, Karl, I mean, there's a lot of places that are people walking around without masks already. And so I think it's coming to that. In the United States, it seems like it's getting under much better control. And they've determined that, hey, it's good to have essentially full capacity crowds again coming up in July. So props to them. Good stuff, man. I'm looking forward to watching wrestling with people back in the crowds, and then hopefully, where we're at, where you're at, where I'm at, we can get back to some local wrestling as well. So we go back to some local shows as well, because it's been too freaking long since I've had the chance to actually go to some wrestling myself, and I've got the itch. So hopefully that itch can be satisfied sooner than later.
It has been too damn long for professional wrestling on a live broadcast, or not broadcast because they've been broadcasting, but in a live action setting.
Yep.
It's been way too long, and I'm really looking forward to the time when we can get back to seeing some live professional wrestling shows. Considering one of the richest and largest conglomerates, Disney, is allowing people in the parks without their masks on. I think that is something that is very, very telling of how we're overcoming everything and moving towards an allowance of fans and back to some semblance of normalcy.
Yeah. And of course, given what it is, we're going to have reactions on both sides of the equation here, Karl. We're going to have people like ourselves that are anxious and looking forward to getting things back again. And of course, there's people on the other side of things saying that we're jumping the gun and that we need to be careful. And I understand that to a certain extent too. I'm not going to be totally insensitive to the other side, because I stated before, I definitely don't want to put that out there that, that this is something that's like totally phony. Oh, coronavirus doesn't exist. It hasn't killed anybody, because it has, and it is still something that we need to be careful of, and it's still potentially dangerous. But at the same time, we do need to, at some point, get back to some semblance of a normal life. And it is about time. The cases are plummeting. Let's start getting back to normal.
I agree.
Cool, man. And like I said, and even just as an observer of professional wrestling, I've sort of started to kind of get used to the empty arena shows. I was very much against them at the beginning. I've kind of come around to it, and there's some that have done it better than others. I know the Thunderdome is what it is. It'll be very interesting, given that, especially on the WWE side of things, and I especially think on SmackDown, because I think it's pretty safe to say that out of the Raw and SmackDown is the better product, right? But it has been a while since we've had actual fans in attendance reacting to what's currently going on storyline wise and character wise. So it'll be really, really interesting, Karl, to see once the fans step back foot in there, and then we run a show to see how they react to kind of what's going on. Is Roman going to get cheered? Is he going to get booed? How is that dynamic going to go? Because it's been a while. So it's that's the thing that I'm looking forward to the fans coming back, but I'm also very intrigued to see how they're going to receive the product they're being presented.
Definitely. I mean, for a lot of people, they've been conditioned and continually conditioned. Anyone that has been part of the Thunderdome experience is having everything fed to them as the announcers would have things fed to them. Yeah. They're being told when to cheer, when to boo, when to clap, when to get excited, when to look frightened, when to look scared, when to... They're essentially being shown every step of the way what to do. So the WWE really has done, in my opinion, has done a good job with still being able to include the fans, to keep the fans so that they're not tuning out or turning away, but also keeping them conditioned to. You used Roman Reigns. I'll use Roman Reigns. They're conditioning them to continue to see Roman Reigns as that bad guy, so that when we do come back to people inside the arenas, that they're going to just have that mindset already of, oh yeah, Roman Reigns is I have to boo right now because Roman Reigns is a bad guy. So they've really conditioned people. I guess they've conditioned them.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's I'm hoping that that's the case, that the fans will come back and play along, right? Not just do what they want, because and again, I understand that to a certain point. Our friend Don here saying brainwashed by the WWE. Hey, you can kind of make that argument, but yeah, like I just said, I just hope that when the fans come back, that they do, like you said, they do react properly. Otherwise, it's gonna feel a little odd, to say the very least. So, to those fans going over to live shows, make sure that the bad guy comes out. You boo him. The good guy comes out. You cheer him. That's how you do it, right? So I get it. Some people can, quote unquote, like the bad guys, but you're not helping their case by cheering them, if that makes sense. I know that's a hard point to get across to the average person, because like, well, I like them, I'll cheer for them. But if they're genuinely a bad guy and they're doing that well, you shouldn't have any inclination to cheer them whatsoever, because there should be no redeeming values or characters of them, so there should be no reason to cheer. Because if you get that reaction, in my humble opinion, I know people don't share that opinion, that if you get a cheer as a bad guy, you have failed in your role as a bad guy. That's always been my take, and it always will be my take.
I fully agree with that too. I mean, yeah, when I was working, if I was playing that heel, I wanted the fans to boo me. I didn't want anybody to cheer me while I was playing that heel.
Yep.
When I was in the United States, I was always a heel. When I was in Canada, I was always a face. So it was sometimes a little difficult, because I'd have, like friends and family and stuff come over to see me perform in the United States, and they'd be cheering me. And I would have to make sure that after the show, this happened only twice, but I had to go to them after the show and say, hey, listen, when we're in the United States, boo me, because that needs to happen. I need to hear those boos. I can't hear any cheers, because then I'm going to be thrown off my game. And they were like, oh yeah, you know what? Like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Everyone else is booing you, but we're cheering. Okay, yeah, we can kind of see. So then after that, everything was always fine. It was always good. I was able to keep character then and be that heel or that face, no matter where I was.
Hey, ask our friends Rick and Jargo over at the Hitting the Marks podcast that as Canadians, we're absolutely heels. We're very easygoing, lovable French Canadian, or not necessarily French Canadian. I'm French Canadian, but Karl isn't. Canadian heels to a certain extent to those guys. So that's just kind of the way it goes. When the Canadians are over in the States, we're the heels, and when the Americans are over here, they're the heels with us. So it's just the way it goes. Just the way it goes. But needless to say, man, at the end of the day, just looking forward to fans being back, because professional wrestling just isn't the same without them.
That's right.
All right, man. Well, let us move on to necessarily news, or sad news, but still a sad occasion. It is, as of yesterday, I guess, would have been the anniversary of the passing of Owen Hart. Yes. This is always a little tough one to cover here, Karl, but let's try as much as we can to look back positively, because, I mean, the majority of Owen's life and Owen's career and all that stuff was overwhelmingly positive. So I thought we would kind of look back on some of our favorite matches and kind of moments and just reflect. And I'll start with you, Karl. Before we kind of get into matches, like when you think Owen Hart, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Jokester. I mean, definitely it is, because of all the stories that we have heard from everyone that was able to work with Owen Hart. He was a ribber. And he loved being able to do those ribs and be able to play those jokes on his friends. And like definitely that's exactly the first thing that comes to mind. Fun-loving, comedic, family man who loved professional wrestling.
For me, it's a story. Whenever I think of John's making a hint out of here, proud wrestler and father, absolutely, and we will get into that a little bit further. When I think of Owen Hart, the very first thing that I think of is a story told by the legendary Mick Foley, okay? And it was of Mick Foley's son, who was a huge Owen Hart fan. And whenever well, let me tell this part of it first. Behind the scenes, there was for a little while, or it may have been for a longer period of time, that Owen Hart had a particular nickname that wasn't necessarily the most positive nickname, so to speak, but being a Rebber, he kind of went along with it. They referred to him as Nugget because he was a bit of a smaller guy. So that was kind of the term that they used to kind of tease him. Well, I guess Mick Foley's son found that out through whatever means maybe Mick had mentioned or whatnot. And then whenever his son would see Owen Hart on TV, he would chant, "Nugget, Nugget," not knowing that it was a derogatory term. And that put a smile on Mick Foley's face. And when I first heard that story, it put a smile on my face because I know that Owen would have not been offended by that. He would have totally understood. It would have been like, hey, that's cool. That's cool. Right. So the fact that you're cheering me, hey, I'm cool with that. And for me, when I think Owen Hart, that's the very first thing that I think of is that story. And I think it just encapsulates him just as a guy. Like he was just a fun loving, and as our friend Don here said, father. That is a big thing to take away from this. And one of the big things that I took away from the Dark Side of the Ring episode on Owen Hart, that Owen, yes, was very dedicated to the wrestling business, but he didn't want to be in it forever. He wanted to make as much money as he could in the shortest period of time so he could take care of his family and live his life with his children before he was too old to enjoy it all. Unfortunately, of course, as we know, that wasn't the case, but I thought that was a very interesting insight into the whole story that Owen didn't want to do this forever. He was very, very passionate about the wrestling business, but he didn't want to be, like in his 50s and 60s still doing this, right? He was above everything else, a family man and a father.
Definitely. He definitely was. Somebody leave a comment down below if I am incorrect in my statement here, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching this afterwards. But I do believe the entire Nugget thing came from a promo from Jeff Jarrett, I believe it was, where Jeff Jarrett actually called him a nugget and said he's like that nugget in the toilet that just won't flush down. And then from there is where we got the Nugget, Owen Hart. I mean, wow. Yeah. Wow. For something as stupid and simple and ridiculous as talking about fecal matter not flushing in a toilet to being a moniker and nickname that is remembered to this day, unbelievable.
Yeah. And the other thing that I want to make note of here as well, Karl, because for me, as much as I absolutely loved Owen Hart, the character and the wrestler and whatnot, and people are always like, oh, he should get into the WWE Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff. For me, even more than that, his lasting legacy isn't that at all. For me, above everything else, and you may already know where I'm kind of going with this here, Karl, I think Owen's true legacy and his real Hall of Fame is his family that his surviving family, his kids especially, but even more so the Owen Hart Foundation. That is Owen's legacy and his Hall of Fame. Right in their motto, we provide opportunities. I'm looking at their website right now. We provide opportunities for hardworking people who have limited resources and unlimited potential. And then that line as well is something that I could even totally see Owen Hart saying. And it kind of encapsulates what he was about. So for me, that's Owen's lasting legacy, is that Owen Hart Foundation that's still going to this day.
Definitely it is. I mean, short of a WWE Hall of Fame, short of a Cauliflower Alley Club induction or any type of pro wrestling Hall of Fame, I think all of that would pale in comparison to this Owen Hart Foundation that was created and started. And you're right, that is his legacy right there. Yep. Martha going and having this and starting this and something that that is not a popular opinion. I have a very unpopular opinion, but I don't ever want to see Owen Hart go into the WWE Hall of Fame. I think that would definitely I don't think that it would be received very well.
No.
And I'm very much so on the side of the family where they say that they don't want that because it's always going to be shadowed by the events that happened and the tragedy surrounding what happened. So if, for that reason alone, I don't want to see it because that's going to be the focal point of what people remember in any type of Hall of Fame situation is really he's in the Hall of Fame because he perished inside of a WWE ring during a pay-per-view on live television. Like that's going to be, so I don't want to see that for that reason. I think this foundation is the best way to remember and honor Owen.
Couldn't agree with you more on it, man. And even when that whole situation took place, the Over the Edge pay-per-view, and just the fact that it's tough because, I mean, the incident happened and then the show continued right on. Now, I understand the mindset of the show must go on. I get it. But in that situation, I think that history would remember things differently and things would be we'd be a lot more willing to kind of give on certain things when it comes to the family, Martha and the kids, had they have cut the show short when that happened. Hey, this happened. That's it for tonight. We can't continue on. This is absolutely devastating thing has happened. It's in bad taste to continue on. Right?
Yeah.
It's a tough thing because, I mean, we're looking at it in hindsight as well, right? So it's way after the fact. Had we been running the show at that time, had we have made the same decision as Vince? Maybe, right? It's a tough thing, and I totally understand it. And regardless of what decision you make, there's always going to be somebody that's not going to be happy, regardless of which side you went on.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing, and but I agree with you that the WWE Hall of Fame, as much as we'd like to see him honored, the true honor is the kids that he left behind, the kids that don't think badly on him whatsoever, that still love him even though he's not around anymore, and then this foundation that's still going. That's what we need to remember Owen of. But having said that as well here, Karl, we'd be doing him a disservice too if we didn't look back on him with some of his favorite matches as well, because I definitely want to do that as well. For me, the big one that kind of stands out is maybe one that not a lot of people are necessarily expecting. One of my favorite matches and runs that Owen actually had was when he tag teamed with Yokozuna.
Okay.
That was some really, really cool stuff. And a great example of one of the best things I thought that Owen did with his wrestling is that literally everybody that he worked with, he elevated. Whether he was working with them or working against them in a match, he elevated them. And I mean, Yoko was no slouch then, but when you saw him working with Owen Hart, it's almost like some kind of switch kind of went off. And I mean, you could tell like Owen did too, but Yoko started having fun. And
yes,
that was one of the keys there. And I mean, and they were a heel tag team and they became champions very quickly, but they had a really good, fun kind of run there. To see those two guys together, I enjoyed the hell out of that combination of Owen and Yoko. Who would have thought? But damn, like they made it work.
They definitely did. And I mean, that's, a great run as tag team champions with Yokozuna. And you're right. You're right. It definitely did look as though Yokozuna really started to have fun with everything that was happening. And it was absolutely fantastic to see.
And thankfully so. Because, Yoko didn't have much longer on the earth after that as well. So I think it did his heart some well before his heart gave out to have some fun with like one of the best guys you could have fun with in wrestling, and that is Owen Hart. Now, I know that the big one, of course, that everyone talks at, and we're talking Brett versus Owen at WrestleMania 10, right? I mean, that, I think, pretty safely ranks at the top of most people's lists of favorite Owen Hart matches, and rightfully so. It definitely is a fantastic to watch the brothers go at it at such a high level. It's still something to behold, and it's just if you haven't seen it, go watch it. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, I mean, that one there is normally number one on the list of anything for Owen Hart, is that Owen versus Brett WrestleMania match. It definitely is. One that is a little bit more out there that not many people are aware of. Owen Hart faced Jushin Thunder Liger in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Yes. So a very short period of time when Owen Hart was not with the WWE, he went over to New Japan and he worked New Japan Pro Wrestling. And he had an amazing matchup back in 1991 with Jushin Thunder Liger. Absolutely fantastic to be able to see Owen Hart. I mean, he worked like WWE, he worked WCW, he worked like all these companies, including New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I need to find that match. I need to find that match. If it's available, if you find it, Karl, let me know. And if our viewers / listeners find anywhere, throw it in our comments for this episode or get a hold of us and send a link. I don't care how you get it to us. That's a match that I have to watch. I mean, Owen's one of my favorite Canadian wrestlers of all time, and Jushin Thunder Liger is probably one of my, if not my, absolute favorite Japanese wrestler of all time. So I need that match in my life right now or yesterday. I need to watch that. So if somebody finds it, please let us know where we can check it out, because that's definitely on my must-watch list now that I know that exists.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, like I said, there's other really great matches, but too many to kind of name. But like I said, my personal favorite, that run with Yokozuna, and of course, the matches with Brett. Even he had one as a Blue Blazer with Mr. Perfect at WrestleMania 5. Another really good, in my opinion. The work that you had mentioned and hinted at, his work with Jeff Jarrett.
Yep,
great stuff there too. I mean, those guys were good together, and. But yeah, that's the biggest kind of thing that I wanted to make note of with this whole thing was that, all the wrestling matches and all the ribs and all that kind of stuff was all good for what it was. But I think that, and he would want this too, his real lasting legacy, though, is his family and that Owen Hart Foundation. I know I'm repeating myself, but I really want to make that point that is... the legacy that we should really look back on, and that's the really, really good stuff. And the fact that it's still going to this day is a very good thing. And for those who do want to check it out, it's very easy to find. You just go to owenhartfoundation.org and check it out. It's definitely worth checking out. I think you could still donate and all that kind of stuff there. So make sure and go check that out once we're done here today. All right, man. Is there anything else that you want to touch on about Owen Hart before we get to some breaking news here for this week?
No, just Owen, we miss you.
Yeah,
I mean that's
very
probably
so.
the biggest takeaway from all of this is that way too soon.
Yeah,
and I mean, I can only imagine what Owen could have gone on to do and accomplish if this tragedy had not happened. So.
Yep.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yep, it's very unfortunate. It's, in my opinion, it's one of the kind of the sadder deaths, especially as Canadian wrestling fans. It hits very close to home, and it sucks. It's still, looking back on it this long after the fact, it still sucks. But we do love you, Owen, and you will always be remembered for just your fantastic work in the ring, your time as just the fantastic father that you were, and. Like I said, check out the Owen Hart Foundation. You won't be sad that you did. All right, man. But before we do get to our breaking news, though, let us take a brief break here and hear from our friends over at collarandelbowbrand.com, and we'll be right back.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
The dictionary defines hero as a person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. Being a hero in life is far more than words printed on a page. It takes an unwavering code, a compass that points true north always. And in times like these, it takes sacrifice. Hero shouldn't be a word defined by a dictionary. It's a word that should be defined by the best of us. Hero has a new definition.
Hey guys, Mighty Joe and Karl Karufel back here on Turnbuckle Talk. And as you heard from our friend Al Snow, that if you go over to collarandelbowbrand.com and use our promo code JKPodcast at the checkout, you'll get 10% off all of the absolutely incredible merchandise that they have over there.
You definitely will. Before we get to anything further here, I'm very proud of myself.
Okay.
I was able to multitask.
Nice.
As I was giving my little praise and love for Owen Hart, I was able to find that matchup, and it has been posted into the comment section down below. A YouTube link is available there, and during our commercial break, I went and decided to click on it to make sure that it worked, and it definitely does. Nice. So there you go. Anybody that wants to see that matchup, it's right down below there.
For sure. All right, man. Before we get to our Match of the Week segment, I just accidentally minimized the screen. The beauties of doing live broadcasting. Let us get to our breaking news. All right, so for this week on Breaking News, there were some other releases in WWE, a couple controversial ones. Of course, there was an NXT referee, and of course, the Velveteen Dream. I don't want to spend too much time talking about it here, Karl, but for those who do want to know, there is a big, long, drawn-out, long-winded deal right from Patrick there. If you guys want to check it out, by all means have at it. I don't want to give it any airtime. All I will say is that he did say what he wanted to say, and you can take it for what it is or for whatever. I don't really want to voice opinion on it because I know it's a really, really hot topic, and I will just leave it at that. He was released, and he voiced his concerns. It's pretty clear how WWE feels about it. It's pretty clear how the majority of wrestling fans feel about it, and I will leave it at that.
That's right. Now, the other people that were released from the company, you talk about one NXT referee. I believe there were actually 2 referees that were released and a handful of developmental talent that we really didn't see on NXT television. So just a little bit of a cleanup. They kind of went under the radar for the most part. So there really wasn't any big hoopla or press release put out on it. But just some more releases that happened within the company, and that's about it.
And the other kind of thing that stood out to me in the course of the week of digging through these, some of them are dirt sheets and some of them are questionable sometimes, but I mean, and it's usually flooded with a lot of like gossipy kind of stuff, and this week was no different. The only thing that stood out that I felt that was even remotely worth mentioning was Chris Jericho saying that Kenny Omega is the best wrestler that he's ever worked with in the ring. Again, that is very much up for debate, person to person. No two people are going to agree on that. Personally, I would say that Chris has worked with a lot better in the ring, but at the same time too, I will say that I've voiced opinions about Kenny Omega, but that was more on the North American version of Kenny Omega. The Japanese version of Kenny, I'm still very much a fan of and still appreciate all the work that's done there. Just in my take, it just hasn't translated well over to the North American audience, that whole take on the Kenny Omega character and whatnot. But it is what it is, and opinions aside, I mean, Chris Jericho is somebody who does have some valid opinions, so you do have to take it seriously. And Chris isn't necessarily wrong, in my opinion, but not necessarily totally correct either. But again, that's just the take from one Canadian wrestling podcaster to another.
And I'm going to bring up what you had mentioned a little earlier here. You didn't mention it on this broadcast yet, but we talked about this before going live for everybody here. You had said that Chris Jericho had said that Kenny Omega was the best wrestler in the world, which I in turn had said I do believe that he mentioned that he was the best wrestler that he's worked with inside of the ring, to which you replied, well, he kind of has to say that. He can't be saying that it's some WWE person. He really does have to mention somebody within the company that he is currently working for. So, yeah, I kind of get that. I mean, yeah.
On a brief side tangent, then before we get to our match of the week.
Yeah, please.
Purely theoretical question here for you here, Karl. If you had to pick of who the best wrestler in the business is right now, who would you be picking? Like we're talking not just limited to one company. I'm talking across the complete board. Who would you pick?
That's a tough one, to be honest.
Yeah. I got him thinking, folks. I got him thinking.
Yeah. I mean, let me think this over for a moment while I take a drink of our non-sponsored Dr. Pepper.
In the meanwhile, I'll give you mine is a toss-up.
Jay White.
Ooh. Okay. Well, that's interesting because he's somebody that's, for me, it's a toss-up between him and Randy Orton.
Okay.
I think that for me, I could go either way. And I think they're both fantastic. And that's really all I need to say. I think they both have the most complete game and play their characters the best as well. And not only that, too, this is slightly controversial possibly, but they keep a lot of their personal stuff under wraps. Which I think is a real key and very difficult to do modern day, but can still be done. You don't need to divulge every single personal matter on social media. In fact, it's better that you don't. Let's just put it that way. Because it will, not a matter of if, it will come back to haunt you if you say anything that is considered off-color or discriminatory or whatever. Just, if you do, maybe just type it and then delete it. And they don't actually post it.
I am definitely a fan of Braun Strowman, okay? I like Braun Strowman. I like how big he is. I like how much. I
know where you're going with this.
I like his work, but I literally did not need to know everywhere that he has pooped.
Yeah, and he did the picture of him wearing like short shorts.
Yeah.
Didn't need to see that either. Didn't need to see that either. Love the guy, but
right?
dude, I mean, no, we don't need to see you nearly with no clothes on. Don't need that. Don't need that.
Now, I mean, I could understand something like that if it was in the context of a storyline or whatever, right?
Sure.
And they kind of almost were, right? Braun Strowman was kind of playing this comedic character for a little bit of time, and to see Braun Strowman and Daisy Dukes with no shirt on, yeah, it's kind of comedic, right? I get it. I get that. No. But this whole places I pooped, I didn't need to know where he's pooped.
No, really don't.
Yeah.
I could... I can't even see how that would be beneficial to the average person. Let alone somebody with any kind of celebrity. That is information that does not to be divulged to the public, folks. Anyways, let us move on from that to our, where are you? Match of the week. All right, for Match of the Week segment, let us get the age-old debate out of the way off the hop. You first,
go ahead.
Me first. There we go. Okay. So mine is, like I told Karl before we started recording here, mine is coming from an unusual and unexpected source. So first of all, my Match of the Week is a women's match, number one. So that already is different in itself. And the match is coming from Stardom over in Japan, and specifically from the a show that was done recently over in Yokohama. It was a matchup for the Wonder of Stardom Championship between Tam Nakano and Natsupoi. It is available on YouTube to watch. It is just under half an hour long. It is very, very good. if you're at all a fan of women's professional wrestling, you need to check this out. And I will maybe even try, while Karl's giving his pick, I'll try and actually post it in our comments on this so other people can check it out too, because it is good.
Definitely, yeah. Like, please find that and throw that in there if you can here. I want to throw out there our friend Don Lewis again, Bubba Duke. He doesn't have a match, but he's got just a promotion. And this week he's talking MLW.
Yep.
For myself here, my match of the week comes from many moons ago. I am very proud to say that I love watching older professional wrestling. That's what I grew up with. My match this week is coming from the Iron Sheik and Sergeant Slaughter in the infamous boot camp match. Now, I went back and watched this matchup because of A&E and the wonderful program that they've been doing over there. Go and check out that program as well, the WWE's Most Wanted Treasures. They actually had Sergeant Slaughter going around trying to find some things from himself and from the Iron Sheik with different collectors that are out there. Unfortunately, the Iron Sheik, mobility-wise, really can't get around to be able to travel, so they had to use Sergeant Slaughter for the entirety of this. But at the end of that episode, they very nicely put that this episode is dedicated to the Iron Sheik, which was absolutely fantastic. That was awesome to see. But yeah, like if you have not checked that out, you need to check out the boot camp match between the Iron Sheik and Sergeant Slaughter. An absolute bloodfest that happened inside of that match. And for back in that day, you really didn't have a lot of blood that happened. You would have blood, but not like this. This matchup, these two guys in their prime, giving it their all. I loved it. Loved it.
Another thing, too, to mention with both of those guys is probably, I think it's pretty safe to say that those two guys are probably a couple of the only ones where, like, even once their wrestling careers finished, they just continued being those characters. Mm-hmm. Like Sergeant Slaughter, like, isn't a character anymore. He's just Sergeant Slaughter. That's just who he is now. And the Iron Sheik is the same thing, to maybe even a greater extent. I mean, if you want, again, tread carefully a little bit, but if you want to follow somebody on social media, specifically Twitter, and if you want to be surprised and entertained and disgusted all at the same time, just follow the Iron Sheik on Twitter and you will not be disappointed.
Oh, you definitely will not be disappointed at all.
Oh, man.
At all.
Yep. All right, so you know what? Since we have a little bit of time, we're running. We're not necessarily running short, but we have a little bit of extra time here. Since we're going to be talking about something on our Showstopper segment, I think it's still fitting to play this because I think it actually will potentially tie into what we're talking about. So we'll take another brief break here and hear from our friends over at OVW, and then we'll be back with our Showstopper segment for this week.
Hi, my name's Barry Ratcliffe. You might recognize me from such films as The Longest Ride or Ted 2. Now, as a successful actor, I have 2 planes, a supermodel wife, countless exotic cars, and a ton of cash. You might think it couldn't get any better than this, but you'd be wrong. For only $4.99, you can get OVWWrestlingNetwork.com. That's OVWWrestlingNetwork.com for only $4.99. Now, will your life be as good as this? No. Will it be better? Yes, and I guarantee that. That's not valid anywhere. OVWWrestlingNetwork.com is only $4.99. Tomorrow's yesterday is today. Prices so low, they're insane. What? Bang for your butt? Well, so do I. At OVWWrestlingNetwork.com, it's only $4.99 a month. In between excitement, me too. OVWWrestlingNetwork.com is only $4.99 a month. You get that incredible value. She cost me $17 million, and I loved it. Want a real value? OVWWrestlingNetwork.com. It's only $4.99. That's a price so low. Well, it's insane.
So there we go. A little word from our friends over at OVW. Still one of my favorite advertisements that we play. I love those guys. Put on a great product over there. And I know even Don has become a fan of that program as well.
Oh, yeah.
And just a little side note for those who do want to check out my match of the week. I did post it in our comments there. The link does work. It's like officially right from Stardom's YouTube channel, so it is the entire match, so go and check it out. If you like some good hard hitting women's wrestling, you'll enjoy that matchup as I did. All right, so since we are talking about some not AEW, too many wrestling promotion names, I always get everybody mixed up. Since we just played OVW, I think that ties quite nicely into our Showstopper segment. So I thought for this week's Showstopper segment, I think we've probably done this before, so we're kind of revisiting it again, but I thought we would take this opportunity here, Karl, since we just heard from our friends over at OVW, and I know for a fact that it is a promotion that a lot of wrestling fans are sleeping on, that we would go through some of our picks to pick things outside of the WWE, of wrestling promotions that fans and our listeners and viewers should be checking out if they aren't already, and to kind of go through some of our picks for that. And
Sure.
The first one at the top of the list, I know that you and our friend Don watching here will definitely agree with me. OVW is definitely one of those promotions that you need to check out. It's free on YouTube to go and watch. I mean, you can't go wrong, and if you want to, you can go with a $49 a month as well and directly support them. So OVW is definitely one of those promotions. If you aren't watching, you need to go check it out.
You definitely do that. $4.99 a month is going to get you the archives of everything OVW. So, yeah, I mean, supporting them at $4.99 a month is an amazing thing to do. Our friend Bubba Don Lewis, actually posted one of my three picks that I had for this Showstopper segment, and he talked about MLW. MLW is doing some amazing things right now. They've got some great workers over there, and they're even including, I'm going to spoil things for you a little bit, they've even got the inclusion of a new faction that is coming into the company that people who have watched some other professional wrestling, some underground wrestling, would definitely be a fan of. So MLW is, again, another one of those ones that's available on YouTube for free. So go and check them out as well.
It's a really interesting thing here, Karl, with that MLW thing, because when it comes to North American professional wrestling, with the exception of New Japan North America, they really do go for that sports-like presentation, which makes this partnership with Azteca Underground, or was formerly Lucha Underground, even more intriguing to me, because Lucha Underground was essentially the complete opposite of what MLW is doing. That's what makes it so interesting, because they really went for that cinematic approach. Yeah. And MLW does not necessarily the opposite of that, but it's very much like a sports-like presentation. So it's very intriguing. On top of that, I mean, you have one of the more intriguing staples in the business, Contra. With Jacob Fatu, one of the hottest things going in wrestling right now. You got the Von Erich boys, you've got Filthy Tom Lawler, and that's just to name a few. So MLW is definitely on that short list of promotions. On Don's list here, which I'll post up here, his first pick is another one that I have to make mention of: New Japan Pro Wrestling. When you want to talk the sports-like presentation, if you don't like storyline heavy wrestling, like over-the-top stuff, New Japan is where you go to. And also with their partners, Stardom, which is where my match of the week came from this week, because they are essentially partners now. Absolutely fantastic stuff there. I mean, I'm almost afraid to name the great talents over there for the fear of leaving people out. But I mean, Okada, Minoru Suzuki, Jay White, Guerrillas of Destiny, just to name a few. And there's a reason why a lot of even some of our favorite WWE talents have gone over to New Japan. There is a reason. Even Hulk freaking Hogan went and spent time over in New Japan Pro Wrestling. That says something.
It definitely does. 100%. Even during our Owen Hart discussion, we talked about Owen Hart going over and working some New Japan Pro Wrestling as well. Rounding out Don's list here, we've got OVW, MLW, and AEW. AEW is more mainstream, so more people have the availability to be able to watch that, and may have seen or tuned in at some point, which is really cool. One thing, another company that people may not necessarily know about is a Canadian company, Canadian Wrestling's Elite. Very awesome promotion who does a cross Canada almost tour every year. They've been doing it. Unfortunately, this COVID issue has really stopped them from being able to do so. But I do want to let everybody know that you can support the CWE, Canadian Wrestling's Elite, coming up very shortly. And I'll see if I can find the information for it and post it into our Facebook page. They will be doing an pay-per-view, an internet pay-per-view. And I don't think it's going to cost you very much. I think it's going to be like $10 it's going to cost you. And you will be able to witness Canadian Wrestling's Elite. They do have a YouTube channel as well. Go and check them out on YouTube. Go and check them out on Facebook even as well. And there are videos there. They have done live streams in the past to show you what is available from Canadian Wrestling's Elite. So there's another pick for you. That's my second one. I got one more to go after this, but Mighty Joe, what else have you got? Do you have any more?
Back briefly on CWE, because we are good friends with the owner of that promotion, Danny Duggan. When they do get back up running with fans, when they get touring again, we'll definitely see about getting him on the show. It's been a little too long since we've talked to Danny. And for my next one, I think you and I are on the same wavelength, because I think we'll probably be able to talk about this one together. And if you're down in the Florida area, specifically in, I guess it would be kind of the Orlando-ish kind of area, or not too far from there.
Vero Beach.
You need to go, and Don's already beat me to the punch. Ignite Wrestling. Our friend Kim Artlip runs a excellent promotion down there. She's had some very notable names there. She runs a local wrestling company the right way. And props to Kim. I mean, she's still going. I believe maybe they're not running back at full capacity quite yet, but I think they are back running shows. Very happy and very proud of our friend Kim that runs some great wrestling down there. If you happen to be in the Florida area, do yourself a favor and go and check out Ignite Wrestling. And if you can't, you can find them on YouTube. She's been posting some old shows, some old episodes, some old matches. Absolutely fantastic.
That's right. Vero Beach area. I believe it's called the Golden Coast. She is the only promotion that is down there. And for our friend Kim Artlip, I'm going to play a little something right now for everybody. Please, if you feel so inclined, this is a great way to support Ignite Wrestling. So take a look at this. So there you have it, cool. shop.ignitewrestling.com, or just go to ignitewrestling.com and it will be there for you to be able to find their shop as well. Miss Kim has generously made available for us the use of that commercial that she actually has and plays and runs when she does her shows and edits the videos afterwards and puts it out there. Yep. So thank you, Miss Kim, for allowing us to be able to get that out there to our fans as well for you. So yeah, definitely check that out.
Yeah, that Eat, Sleep, Ignite Wrestling Repeat shirt, I really like that one. I popped pretty good when I saw that one. I'm going to get me one of those. But yeah.
I love as well that Miss Kim includes women's shirts.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a girl. Yes, I speak fluent wrestling.
That's good, yeah.
Like that's really cool, right? And then there's hoodies there as well. Even though they're in Florida, they understand that there are some places that can be a little cold. So they've included that as well. She does trading cards as well on the website and at the shop. There's trading cards that are available for the stars of Ignite Wrestling. So Miss Kim's got it all together. She does.
Yep. And the only ones that I want to mention before we call an episode here for this week here, Karl, because like we mentioned, OVW, New Japan, MLW, Ignite Wrestling, CWE, fantastic to mention all those. But I do have one other one that I want to mention that I would be remiss if I didn't mention, especially once we can fully get back to watching again. And that's your local wrestling promotion. If you are lucky enough to have a local wrestling promotion in your area, in the town that you live in, go and check it out and support them. And if you've never been to one of these, I promise you're going to be there with like-minded people, and you're going to enjoy yourself. If you've never been to a live wrestling show and you go to something like that, you're going to have a good time. If you're a little worried or whatnot, don't be worried. You're going to be amongst other people that also love wrestling, and you will be hooked. The first time you go to a real show, you will want to go back. Do yourself a favor and do that. I know not every town and every area has a wrestling promotion. So like I said, if you are lucky enough and blessed enough to, do yourself a favor and go and check it out regardless of what it is. Unless you know that they're garbage, then don't support them. But the majority of wrestling companies out there do put out a good product. So go check it out. You'll be glad you did.
You definitely will. Anytime that you're able to get out to an independent show in your area, make sure you bring along a couple extra dollars. Yes. When these guys and girls are out there doing their performance for you, yes, you paid for a ticket to get into the show, but go and see them at their merchandise table. And even if it's a wristband for like $5 or something, or if it's, $10 or $15 for a photo and autograph with the person, go ahead and do it. I'm going to throw a name out there for people. Jessie Belle Smothers. Go and look up Jessie Belle Smothers, a fantastic professional wrestler who has accomplished quite a bit in her career. I'm very thankful that I was able to get an autograph from Jessie Belle quite a few years ago when she was part of a show that happened just across the river in Michigan that I was able to get to. And even, I paid $5 for this photo and autograph on there. She personalized it for me. It was absolutely fantastic. And it's just one little way that you can help support them, because they're not getting paid a lot of money to do this. It's not like they're making WWE money, right? So, it's just a good way to be able to support the people that are entertaining you.
And even for me, you can possibly see it in my background if you guys are watching the video. Literally almost kind of on my doorstep, the local promotion here, Magnificent Championship Wrestling. I had the chance to meet Angelina Love before she went to Ring of Honor. So it's like you will be a lot of times pleasantly surprised going to these smaller shows just who you might run into, because a lot of these shows do bring in, whether it be like a former star or somebody current, if they can get them to be that kind of what they refer to as a draw, to bring some people to kind of watch. And getting to meet some of these people, it's typically quite the pleasure. And most of them are very accommodating, and it makes for a very fun experience, as well as the actual wrestling that you'll get a chance to watch.
I'm looking at my wall here right now, and I'll just mention a few of the people that I have been able to meet because of Canadian Wrestling's Elite doing their tour. We're looking Chase Owens. We're looking Psychosis, Nikita Koloff.
I've got one on the screen here, Karl.
Jake the Snake Roberts, Flash Funk, yeah, or Too Cold Scorpio, right there as well, right? And some pretty big names, right? Like, Chase Owens is a pretty good star himself, right? Psychosis, a legend. Jake the Snake Roberts as well, an absolute legend in this business, and I've been able to meet them because of local or touring professional wrestling. Yeah. What a great way to be able to go out and meet some of the people that you have watched over the years. And normally, for a cheap price, like $20 for a ticket to get into the show.
Can't go wrong.
And then you bring a couple extra bucks with you to be able to meet these people. Where else are you going to? You're never going to be able to do that with the WWE unless you're paying thousands of dollars for tickets and backstage and whatever and VIPs. You don't need to worry about VIPs when you get it with your local professional wrestling.
You nailed it, man. All right. Well, I think that is a good way to end off the episode here, Karl. But before we do go, I will give you an opportunity to plug our sponsors, and then I will remind those what we got going on for Turnbuckle Rewind this week.
Oh, that's right. Our sponsors include collarandelbowbrand.com. You saw the commercial for them. You know all about collarandelbowbrand.com. It's a little chilly here today, so I am actually wearing my Collar and Elbow Brand mirror sweatshirt, as well as always, my Collar and Elbow branded hat. And Mighty Joe is even wearing today his Collar and Elbow branded mirror t-shirt. So go and check them out. Use promo code JKPodcast in the checkout and you are going to get yourself 10% off your entire purchase. Now, if you're into workout supplements and workout gear, go and check out our friends over at Phoenix. FNXFit.com. They've got some great supplements over there, as well as they have shirts, shorts, whatever you need for your workouts. Go and check them out at FNXFit.com. We got a promo code for you there as well. Use promo code TBTalkPod, and you're going to get 15% off your entire purchase. Yeah, go and check out both of those.
Yep, absolutely. And coming up this Wednesday over on Love Wrestling, Karl and myself will be going back to NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. Adam Cole versus Aleister Black in an Extreme Rules match that has to be seen to believed. And you will be pleasantly excited if you've never seen this match, and you can watch along with us if you wish. And like I said, you're in for a treat there as well.
You definitely will be.
All right, man. Well, we will see you guys on the next one.
It's me. It's an honor to be the V. As you can tell in the background, we are out celebrating. That is what we do here at hittingthemarks.com. And I invite everyone to continue to tune in to Turnbuckle Talk, but check out all of our other shows. We have weekly content, especially lit up by the flagship show. You can find that all at hittingthemarks.com.
Run.